Things I wish I knew before going to film school. So, as you probably know by now, I am in film school in South Africa. So these are 4 things that I wish that I knew before going to film school. So first off, there is a lot of group work. I mean, this was mentioned to me before starting film school. However, I don't think I realized quite how much there was. Film is a collaborative medium, and obviously I knew that and I understood that, and that was fine. I think I just didn't realize quite how much other people's work affected your work, which is okay, except for when people don't do their work. If you're waiting for something from someone else, or you have to work as a group on something, and other people are not handing in what they need to, or they're not giving it to you, it's going to also put a lot of stress on you. Even if it doesn't directly affect your marks, it kind of does affect how you work. I've also learned a lot about working with people, and that's great. Everything kind of revolves around that project that you're creating, your film, which makes sense. All of your assignments are based on it, or at least most of them. Actually, in first and second year, not every assignment was based on it, but a lot of them are, which is great because it gives you time to come up with insight about your film and makes you really figure out a lot of the details, which is awesome. The problem is if you're waiting for things from other people in your crew, or you're waiting for a script, or there's some uncertainty or some information that you don't have and that you need, it makes it very difficult to move forward on your work, which again is a lot about group collaboration, communication, initiative, and also just trying to remind people that the work that they do affects you, and the same the other way around. Obviously, if people need something like a shot list from you, you need to try to get it to them when possible, as soon as possible, because they also need it. So it's just a lot about helping each other out and remembering that your work also affects other people's work. The second thing I wish I knew, which is maybe not such a big deal, but that I didn't realize how hectic it was, and this might vary between film schools, but the film school that I'm at, our schedule changes literally every single day. And by that I don't mean they keep changing the schedule, which they do. That's another stress. And personally, for me at least, I find the uncertainty of what's happening from week to week and day to day quite difficult, specifically because it's gotten worse with COVID, which makes sense. There's been obviously a lot of changes that have had to happen. Certain classes have gone online, other ones happen, but we can only be on campus like every second week, or it kind of depends also on the alert level that South Africa is in, because there's restrictions according to that. So at the moment, I can't remember exactly, but we're only allowed a percentage of the students on campus at a time. So therefore they can't have everyone on campus for classes all the time, because then it's going to be a lot of the students. Maybe not, it's not everyone every day, but it's a lot of us. Therefore they've kind of alternated. I'm not 100% sure exactly how it's worked out, but I know a lot of the time at least we're on campus for a week and then we're off campus. It gets a little bit blurred towards the end of the term because things get really busy, but specifically at the beginning of the term, and especially when the alert level is higher, they try to be quite strict about that, and you're only allowed on campus when you're scheduled to be, or if you specifically ask for permission. Obviously, this is great with COVID. Obviously, COVID has affected a lot of things, so this isn't actually a normal thing. But what I actually more meant was that I didn't really realize how the timetable is very different. So I never went to school. I was homeschooled. I did a lot of extracurriculars in terms of like, I would go to drama every Tuesday. I would go to an art class this day of this week, and I would have ballet this many times a week, and I would have this many times a week. And I would know like, okay, cool. As much as like I don't have school classes, although I did have extra Afrikaans, but as much as I didn't have school classes, I would still have my extracurriculars quite set generally. Obviously, that provides a little bit of structure and routine, which I didn't realize how much I liked it. until I came to film school. And again, like I say, this might be completely different at a different film school, but the timetable is very weird. Like, we only spend, I can't remember how many weeks at a time doing classes. I think it's only like 5 or 6 weeks really going into classes before we have a filming period or a production period. But we'll have like the first week will maybe be mostly one specific class that we all have to take, and we'll have that like, I don't know, most days that week for like 2 or 3 or maybe even sometimes 1 hour. And then the next week, like, I'll have a morning class and an afternoon class and then a whole day class and then nothing, or maybe a meeting. And then the next week I'll have like 4 morning classes, and then the next week it'll be like, it's literally different every single week, which is fine, and it makes sense because of the way they're trying to figure things out and fit classes in. But I just didn't expect it. Maybe that'll help someone just to know what to expect. But again, like I said, it probably depends where you go, and it's okay. It just took a bit of time to get used to, and I think it wasn't that bad, especially because at first I like got a big calendar. My housemate actually bought it for me because I couldn't find one, and she found one and bought me this huge desk calendar. And then I could be like, okay, cool. And I kind of planned out my whole month because I had the schedule just to see when I'm on and off campus and when I have stuff to hand in, because I was a bit overwhelmed. Whereas now, like, I've been doing this for a while, I guess, and it's been even more crazy, and timetables keep changing as well because of lockdown levels and everything. So I don't do that anymore, but you have to like keep checking your schedule basically every day to be like, okay, what's happening this week? What's happening tomorrow? Because you can't rely on what happened last week because it's going to be different. Another thing that I guess I didn't expect, but again, probably should have made sense, is how much work goes into the film, into like the production cycle. This might seem obvious, but I just didn't realize how much preparation it takes. I think because like I have done personal projects before, nothing crazy, nothing hectic, not really even a particular like a proper short film, but just little projects here and there. And we planned it, we had a bit of a shot list or storyboard, we had our idea, we knew what we were doing, but then we kind of just went out and filmed. Whereas obviously when you're working with a crew and you're preparing to figure out how things work in industry, you need so much preparation, and obviously it's very, very important, especially when you're getting to something more complicated and like a bigger crew and things like that. You need to all be on the same page. I mean, we have so many meetings to create the shot list, to create the storyboard. There's a lot of work that goes into that. There's a lot of work that goes into creating the file of documents that we need just to be able to film. This includes obviously legal documents of contracts, indemnity forms, medical information, location release forms, music release forms. I can't even think what else right now, but it's a lot of information. And not at all to be like, it's not necessary. It is, because that's actually what happens. But it was super interesting. I did not expect to learn so much about the whole preparation process and how much goes into that. And once you realize how important that preparation work is, it makes your job and your life on set so much easier, because you don't have to be sitting and making decisions. You know what you need to do, you know what you want, specifically in your department, and hopefully enough about the other departments that you're not gonna like do something to mess them around. But that's why all of the preparation is important, because then I know, like, okay, as a cinematographer, these are the shots I want, this is the lighting I want, this is the color palette, etc., etc. Then I just take the shot list and storyboard and my lighting plan and create what I need to. And obviously, because we've already spoken to production design, we know what that's going to be. We've already done blocking with the director. We know where the actors are going to move. All of those things, the more you do it in preparation, the better it'll be on set. So then the next thing I think would be that you do have to do academic work. This is great. I love academic work, actually. I enjoy writing essays. I enjoy researching. I enjoy referencing. Most people hate referencing. I really like how it looks at the end because everything is so neat and it's all there and it's great. But you do learn how to reference, which is really not that hard. Don't stress about it. it's fine. It's really not that complicated. Just do it and do it right. Follow the guide and you'll get much better marks. But you do have to learn how to reference, you do write essays, and you learn how everything needs to be backed up by research. And I think this is a really important skill. I think I might have mentioned this before, how researching what you're doing is so important so that you can argue and be like, okay, specifically, for example, you're on set and you're talking to the director and you're like, hey, I want to do this shot like this. And they're like, but I want to do it like this. And then you're like, okay, but I have a reason. Do you have a reason? And then you can tell them exactly, like, I don't know, I want to do a wide angle here with the person really small. And this will show how isolated they feel. Obviously, there's a lot of things that are also up to your interpretation, and maybe that's a bit of a silly example. And there are times when you can also subvert things completely. Like blue doesn't always have to be a sad color, but it generally is. Specifically, if you're doing a short film, you kind of want to stay with those conventions because you don't really have time to introduce new ones or help the audience understand them. But if you can be like, hey, I want to do a specific thing. Hey, I have a reason for it. This is why. And it doesn't always have to be researched, but it is something that is helpful and it is something that you learn how to do, which is great. Specifically, if you're looking at things like themes, your target audience, conventions, because helping to create a short film, sometimes understanding the conventions and being able to use those to help inform your audience is really great. All of those things are really helpful. So yeah, hope that this was very interesting. Let me know if you have any questions about film school. Obviously, it's sometimes daunting when you're trying to decide if you should go to film school or not. You don't really know what it's like. But if you have any questions, let me know. I can help you out. Cool, hope that was helpful. And let me know if you have any questions.